Roblox horror games are everywhere. I mean, if you go on TikTok and search up Roblox games to play with your friends, there is a chance, more likely than not, that a horror game will be within that list. Some are incredible, some are forgettable, and some are just the same recycled jump scare slop. But every once in a while, you stumble into a game that feels like it could be something bigger. Something that has the atmosphere, pacing, and potential to actually keep you hooked for more than 10 minutes. I was recommended Pressure. And honestly, I do have to say, it is one of those games that will keep you hooked for longer than the average Roblox game can. Pressure is one of those games that immediately gives off that modern Roblox horror vibe. It's got great dark lighting, VHS filters, loud ambiance, cryptic lore, and monsters that look like some have been shoved in a blender and called a day. I mean, unlike a lot of horror games that rely entirely on jump scares and that kind of scariness, Pressure actually builds things up. It has pacing, style, I mean, it even has world building. It has some level of intention, but it's also still a very basic escape horror game at its core. Hello everybody, my name is Lowercase and welcome to another episode of Just One More Game, a series where I play and review Roblox games so you don't have to, and then I tell you whether or not they're worth your time. Real quick before the video starts, I just want to say sorry for disappearing for like 2 months. Life got really busy, stuff started piling up, starting exams coming up, and I kind of fell off the face of the earth completely for you guys, but I'm back now, for real, and I'm getting things together so I can actually consistently post again. So starting this week, I hope to maintain the proper upload schedule of once every week. But for all of you guys, thank you so much for the support, the continued support. It means a lot to me. Don't worry, I do remember that there's something I have to do for you guys because we did reach 500 subscribers before the end of August. I still have that in the back of my head. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that. And just seriously, thank you guys so much for the support. We're almost at 600. I'm really hoping that we can get to 1K soon within the next 3 or 4 months, and yeah, let's get on with the video. If you couldn't already tell, we're gonna be reviewing Pressure, which is a co-op escape style horror experience that's somewhat popular. It used to be popular a couple years ago, I'm pretty sure, but it was recommended to me by a viewer. Hello, Luck Kitty. And if you want a game that you like to be reviewed by me, go ahead and join the Discord, leave a suggestion in the suggestions forum. I'll take a look at it. Currently, I do have a list that is posted in the announcements channel, I'm pretty sure, but if you want to see the list, go ahead and join the Discord. I will be reposting it again this week sometime. I'll get to it. But if you have a game suggestion and you really want me to review it, join the Discord and leave it in the suggestions. I'll take a look at it. Anyways, to rate the game, we will be rating it on 2 scales. The core meter, which is purely objective from S through F, with S being the best and F being the worst, and then my personal rating based on how much I actually enjoyed playing the game. So, let's step into the dark. Let's talk about Pressure. The first thing Pressure does right that you really notice is the atmosphere. The second you're in the submarine, the loading screen, even before you get off into the actual game, you can feel the tension. The lighting's low, the environment's very industrial, and there's this tension that's obviously baked into the sound effects and the visuals and everything that makes you subconsciously just lean forward. You kind of feel like you're trespassing somewhere you're not supposed to be. The visuals aren't like super groundbreaking in the sense of high poly detail like some other Roblox games, but they are extremely effective. The developers rely heavily on clever lighting, fog density, shadow placement, and color grading. Everything feels intentionally placed. Dim overhead lamps, hallways stretch out farther than they look, and rooms often feel uncomfortable in a way that's hard to describe. The environments also have this like sterile laboratory meets abandoned factory aesthetic. It's slightly futuristic and also horrifying. You don't really know where you are, who built this facility, or any really details about anything, which already creates opportunities for lore without needing to dump exposition on you. If you're like an anime game player or like a Battlegrounds player, Pressure's visuals might feel unfamiliar. It's a lot slower, a lot quieter, and it's way more focused on suspense than all these flashy effects and graphics. But if you've played games like Apeirophobia or Evade or especially Doors, you'll immediately understand the vibe. And honestly, it works perfectly. All right, let's get into the part that most people actually care about, is the gameplay loop. It's simple, but it's polished. Pressure is at its core an escape-style horror game. You and your teammates move through a facility, completing tasks, trying to avoid the creature that's stalking you, just basically trying to get to the end of the hallway, you know? Simple concept, simple structure, simple gameplay loop. But despite that being simple, it's surprisingly polished. You spawn in with your squad through the submarine, you can choose what gear you want to start off with. It's simple. There's no long cutscenes. You're in, you're awake, you're stuck. Good luck. You get told your objective, you begin exploration, then you start getting chased by monsters and other horrifying creatures of the sort, and then either you complete your task or die trying. Pressure doesn't reinvent the horror genre, but it executes the basics really well. So a little bit more in depth about what you're actually supposed to be scared of in this game. There are a bunch of different monsters that you're meant to be running from. I mean, Pressure's just got an insane roster off rip. It's not just like one evil demon guy that's chasing you the whole time. There's just a bunch of weird, disturbing, and just random entities that make the facility you're in feel alive and very, very haunted. Starting off with Z283, codenamed Angler, is probably the most common one you'll face. It's like a twisted, malformed deep sea fish, like an anglerfish essentially, but stitched together wrong. When it spawns, the lights start flickering and you hear screeching, and if you don't hide in time, Angler will charge through and insta-kill you. Because of its design and behavior, it feels like you're being hunted by the deep ocean itself, and it adds this like sickening claustrophobic dread every time you hear its cry. Then there's Z283B, which is Blitz. It's kind of like a modified version of Angler, like faster and nastier. It's a variant that gives off this like viper fish vibe with more jagged teeth, and its speed makes it way more threatening. The flicker warming comes twice before it attacks, giving you a bit more time to react, but also, since you know he's coming, it sends you hard into overdrive. Now, I'm sure you can tell by these descriptions that these monsters are pretty scary, and it adds that really, really good psychological effect to the game, because you don't know who you're going to face the next door you go through until you get those visual or audio cues. Now, I've only explained a few of them, because if I were to explain all of them, it would be way, way too long, but some of the other big name ones are Chainsmoker, Pandemonium, Abyss Lurker, Abomination. Those are just some of the big names. There are a few more monsters, but it seems really, really scary. Not just in the horror sense, but as in, I don't know what to do next. This variety is definitely a big deal though. It doesn't just lean on one monster type. Instead, each entity brings its own different threat pattern, its own strategy, and its own way to scare you. You have sound-based threats like Abyss Lurker, locker hate monsters like Pandemonium, speed demons, Angler, Blitz, and then you just have like some straight rare onslaughts like Multi-Monster, Abomination. They make runs feel like roulette. And that's really what elevates Pressure above just another dark hallway game. It's this danger, it's real, it's nuanced, and it's not always fair. But because the game leans so hard into its monster roster for tension, if you aren't ready for every type of threat, you can definitely feel overwhelmed, like I said earlier. And if you're just there for jump scares, a lot of these monsters don't do that. They hunt, they stalk, they make you feel uncomfortable. They really apply that psychological pressure instead of relying on jump scaring you and making your heartbeat raise. And honestly, that's probably the biggest strength that Pressure has. It's monster design. From the deep sea horror of Angler and Blitz, to the silent predator Abyss Lurker, to the get out now terror of Pandemonium and the multi-monster, each monster doesn't just feel like another creep in the dark. They feel like part of this twisted experiment, and that variety is what gives the game its identity. There are a lot of hidden notes in the game about the lore, and it's honestly it's pretty interesting. Now, I didn't do like a full deep dive into the lore because, well, it's a lot to explain in one video. So basically, a brief overview is there was this corporation, urbanshade, founded by a guy named Mr. Shade. The company officially started as a security kind of business with like weapons, private services, all that kind of stuff. But its real ambitions ran way deeper than that. I mean, like, not just figuratively, but also literally. At some point, urbanshade discovered an unsettling anomaly, and from that moment, they began exploiting the anomalous. That became its primary mission. they built a secret facility in the ocean's deepest trench. That facility, called the Hadal Black Site, experiments on creatures, life forms, and possibly humans. At some point, this research and experimental facility had a massive lockdown. Containment broke down, and things just went horribly wrong across the chart. Sebastian Solis, who's named as a key figure, apparently triggered a breach by releasing many of Urbanshade's anomalous entities. Simultaneously, an AI controlled by Urbanshade that managed to hijack communication systems inside the facility. An entity known as the Mask of Sadness was some blob-like horror, was manipulated via the PA system and lured into certain rooms. During the chaos, ventilation systems failed, which is tied to another anomaly called Paranoia's Box, and the timeline is just murky. But it's clear that the breach wasn't just a random accident. It was a major event, and Urbanshade's unethical research is at the heart of it. So when you play the game, you're not a visitor. You are expendable. You're being dropped into a black site where ultra-secret experiments took place. Emotions, like fear and isolation, are just parts of the job description. Some lore theorists suggest you're part of these experiments, that you've been sent in, died, and sent in again. According to official wiki sources, Urbanshade has shown zero issue with replacing test subjects. This makes every run feel chilling, not just because of the monsters that threaten you, but because of what you are. A very small, very replaceable piece in a much larger, terrifying experiment. So, what does Pressure do good? Well, it's got a really strong atmosphere. The monsters are really well designed, and there's such a large variety of them. Incredible sound design. It's very fun with friends, and the lore and hidden notes that hint towards the lore in-game add a lot of depth. But there are some things that Pressure doesn't do well. Obviously, once you beat the game or play it more than a couple times, the structure is predictable. You explore area, find object to move on to the next area, avoid monster, you keep moving. It works, but it gets familiar, and it does get a little boring. The pacing can also feel slow. Pressure relies on suspense more than action. Some players love that, and some people find it tedious. A lot of the time, the objectives are too simple. You just find an item or activate a switch or do a puzzle. It's like super basic stuff, it's nothing crazy. Sometimes some of the monsters can feel a bit unfair until you're like an actual pro and you know all of them inside out and how they work. But other than that, I don't really have any criticism to give Pressure. Like I said, Pressure thrives on tension, not action. It shines in the emotional experience. Not so much the mechanics, not so much the puzzles, slightly in the variety, but its main selling point is that feeling of dread you get every time you step into a new hallway. And honestly, that feels enough for a horror game like this. Let's get to rating it. On the core meter ranking, Pressure's going to get a solid 7.5 out of 10. That's going to place it at B tier. It has a great atmosphere, very strong sound design, memorable creatures, and a very good variety of them. It's a really fun co-op experience, and it's got great environmental storytelling, which is something that I love in any game. But simple gameplay, kind of a lack of depth regarding the objectives, and a very repetitive loop takes it down a bunch. Pressure is well made, but it doesn't innovate enough to push it past that B tier. As for my personal rating, how much I enjoyed playing the game, I'm going to give Pressure an 8.8 out of 10, which would place it at the A tier. Even though the structure is basic, it's fun to play. I mean, it's got a good vibe, the monster works, the tension's real, and playing with your friends is absolutely hilarious or scary or both at the same time. This is the kind of game where you say, okay, one more run, and it's like 5 a.m. in the morning, the birds are chirping, and you need to get up for school in 2 hours. And honestly, that's all I've been looking for from a good Roblox game. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed this week's review, feel free to leave a like for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe so you don't miss future installments of Just One More Game. Like I said in the beginning, if you've got any games you want to recommend, drop them in the comments or join the Discord and leave them in the suggestion channel. I'll be way more likely to read those there. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.